As you heard in the podcast we put out earlier this week, one of the things that I took issue with is what I attributed as being slanted, biased writing in the pages of the Winnipeg Free Press tabloid newspaper under the signature of Carol Saunders. Her lead paragraph, her first paragraph, Manitoba Premier Heather Stefanson is refusing to address why members of her progressive conservative caucus attended an event organized by a group that has been called out for minimizing the impact of racism in residential schools. She skirted a question about Tory MLAs attending the Frontier Centre for Public Policy event on January 13th, featuring federal conservative leader Pierre Poilievre. The Winnipeg-based Frontier Centre posted a commentary that said stories about murdered and secretly buried children in residential schools are highly suspicious, if not completely false. Last month, the Centre posted an article that said anti-white male policies represent the only ongoing systemic discrimination. I should mention the Winnipeg Free Press doesn't seem, for whatever reason, did not link. The version of the story that I saw online did not have links to these stories, these commentaries. The Frontier Centre put out, take their word for it. That's what the Frontier Centre stands for. Now they trot out more critics. Carol Saunders, trots out more critics. First of all, the thoroughly unaccomplished political science professor from Brandon, Kelly Saunders. They're almost 30 points behind the NDP. To not think about the optics of every single thing they're doing now until election time, it's shocking to me. Ooh, political science professor shocked that some political party didn't do what they thought, what their preferred actions would be. The Centre's published reports calling for the abolition of the Indian Act. Can the Free Press name one person who says, oh no, the Indian Act, that's great. No, we need more Indian Acts. Don't you dare touch it. That's a far right thing to do. Taking part in an event associated with the Frontier Centre is a price the PCs can ill afford to pay when they're tanking the polls, said Saunders. It undermines the Premier's messaging. Indigenous reconciliation is a priority, and always ends with some criticism by the NDP. PC MLAs in attendance made a conscious decision to hear Poilievre speak at the event, rather than choosing another time to see the federal Conservative leader in Winnipeg, said Ian Bushy, an NDP MLA. They choose to do this, but honestly, we believe that reflects their values as well. The Free Press isn't alone in this slant against Poilievre with regards to the event in question. CBC running a similar story, and they don't pivot to anybody who supports it, really. They pivot to all the critics. Crown Indigenous Relations Minister Mark Miller, it was appalling Poilievre would associate himself with an organization like this, particularly the day of today. Surely the Free Press and CBC are telling the truth about this. Surely they aren't giving short shrift to the Frontier Centre and the 1,000 people that bought tickets for this event. Think again. A well-known Winnipeg journalist on their personal Facebook page, a longtime Winnipeg journalist, made a statement, and this is a journalist, when we talked about in the last episode, the importance of journalists with institutional memory and preserving that kind of journalism and supporting it. Here's the kind of local journalism you should support. People that tell the truth. People that make sense. People that say things like this. 2 Winnipeg media outlets have said, 1, Pierre Poilievre wouldn't speak to media in Winnipeg last week. 2, he delivered a speech to a room full of racists/residential school deniers. I had to work this event, so I can tell you this. 1, he did do media here. He spoke to Global News and CGOB, who coordinated through proper channels to get him. These 2 other outlets were somehow stunned and angry they didn't get unscheduled interviews. The lunch was your typical Winnipeg lunch crowd you see when anyone comes from out of town to speak. Mostly old white guys, yes. But there are also business women, a lot of liberals, a sprinkle of socialists, the Black Conservative Association, a Filipino association. And you ready for the punchline? Several chiefs and Indigenous organizations were among the, quote, racist lunch crowd of, quote, residential school deniers. As a journalist, I'm concerned when I see other journalists from 2 outlets in particular in Winnipeg manipulate the news. So the first thing they did was to smear Pierre Poilievre and to smear everybody in that room, whether they were Black, Filipino, female, Indigenous, Aboriginal, First Nations. They identified as anything other than a white supremacist. Guess what? They were wrong. Just ask Carol Saunders. Just ask the CBC. Because they know upon which side their bread is buttered. I speak both of CBC and the Winnipeg Free Press tabloid newspaper. They get paid by Trudeau. The Free Press is kept alive by Trudeau dollars. There's going to be lots of coverage that promotes the Liberal Party to smear anybody who's a threat to their benefactors, the federal Liberal government.